Matchday 27 of the Premier League delivered yet another dramatic twist in what is becoming an increasingly unpredictable campaign. It almost feels as though three separate battles are unfolding at once. The title race between Manchester City and Arsenal is intensifying by the week. The race for the top four continues to demand consistency. And at the other end, the survival fight for a £300 million Premier League spot remains just as fierce. All of it combined to produce a truly captivating round of fixtures. Let's begin with the headline encounters. The first major clash of the weekend saw Chelsea held to a 1-1 draw by Burnley at Stamford Bridge. Dropping two crucial points in the race for Champions League qualification, Chelsea had taken an early lead through João Pedro, and the match appeared firmly under control for Enzo Maresca's side. However, the turning point arrived in the 72nd minute when Wesley Fofana received a second yellow card following a late challenge on Jacob Bruun-Larsen. Reducing Chelsea to 10 men, the dismissal forced the Blues into a defensive shell during the closing stages. And they ultimately paid the price when Zeki Amdouni struck a stoppage-time equaliser. Cole Palmer also faced criticism. Had the England international been more clinical in front of goal, Chelsea might have killed the game much earlier. Alarmingly, this marked the 8th red card for a Chelsea player this season. Underlining a growing disciplinary issue, the draw also increased the total number of points they have dropped from winning positions to 19. Off the pitch, Chelsea were dealt another setback as promising youngster Estevão Willian missed out due to a hamstring injury. Meanwhile, Reece James remained sidelined, and Alejandro Garnacho was surprisingly left unused throughout the match. The one undeniable positive remains João Pedro's sparkling form. The Brazilian has registered 7 goals and 4 assists in just 10 matches under Maresca, cementing his status as one of the league's most informed forwards at present. The main talking point after the match was whether Chelsea's lack of discipline will continue to cost them, particularly with a daunting trip to Arsenal looming next. Manchester City edged Newcastle United 2-1 in a fiercely contested encounter, reducing the gap to the league leaders to just 2 points and keeping the title race alive. The standout performer was Nico O'Reilly, the young midfielder scoring both goals for City. He opened the scoring with a decisive finish before heading home the winner after Newcastle had equalised through Alexander Isak following a rebound. The game was played at a relentless tempo and not without controversy. Dan Burn had the ball in the net for Newcastle, only for the goal to be ruled out for offside, despite replays suggesting he may have been nudged into an offside position by Ruben Dias. Both Burn and Bernardo Silva were fortunate to escape red cards after heavy challenges. Eddie Howe's Newcastle pressed aggressively with a high man marking system, causing City real problems defensively. However, they were punished for momentarily losing track of O'Reilly. After the match, Pep Guardiola described the victory as extremely important, but stressed that City must continue improving if they are to go all the way. He also praised Erling Haaland's overall contribution and the team's fighting spirit. Howe, meanwhile, took positives from his side's bravery at the Etihad but lamented their defensive lapses in the decisive moments. Haaland, in particular, received widespread praise, including from Guardiola, for adapting his style of play. The Norwegian has become more involved in build-up phases and link-up play, moving away from the old perception of simply waiting inside the box. If you were not watching closely, you might have mistaken Liverpool for the team in red at the City ground. Liverpool secured a dramatic 1-0 victory away at Nottingham Forest, with Alexis Mac Allister emerging as the hero in the 97th minute following a lengthy VAR review. Earlier, the Argentine had seen a 90th minute effort ruled out for handball, turning emotions from despair to euphoria in stoppage time. The win lifts Liverpool to 6th place on 45 points, level with Chelsea and just 3 behind Manchester United, although the overall performance left much to be desired. The first half, in particular, was described as one of their poorest displays of the season. Liverpool managed just 2 shots and recorded a meagre expected goals figure of 0.06. There was further frustration before kick-off when Florian Wirtz withdrew through injury, depriving the attack of creativity. After the match, Mac Allister admitted the team had not played well but celebrated the importance of the 3 points. Head coach Arne Slot was equally frank, acknowledging a sluggish start and frequent turnovers, though he credited his side for their second-half adjustments. Meanwhile, Forest manager Nuno Espirito Santo was visibly furious after what he felt was a cruel defeat. Believing his side deserved all 3 points, Arsenal delivered a statement performance, dismantling Tottenham Hotspur 4-1 away from home to maintain a 5-point advantage over Manchester City at the top of the table. Eberechi Eze opened the scoring in the 32nd minute after being set up by Bukayo Saka. However, just 2 minutes later, a handling error from Declan Rice allowed Randall Kolo Muani to equalise for Spurs. The second half belonged entirely to Mikel Arteta's side. Victor Gyökeres restored Arsenal's lead early after the break. Eze completed his brace, his 8th goal against Spurs, before Gyökeres sealed the result in the 94th minute. The match also marked Igor Tudor's first game in charge of Tottenham. Deploying a new 3-5-2 system, despite an energetic atmosphere in the stands, Spurs managed just 28% possession in the first half and were comprehensively outplayed. Eze and Gyökeres were outstanding, while Rice's earlier mistake became a major talking point. After the match, Arteta praised his team's resilience and described it as Gyökeres' best performance since joining the club. He also reserved special praise for Eze, who delivered a superb display following a difficult spell of adaptation. Igor Tudor later admitted that the gap in quality between the two sides was significant, stressing that Tottenham must work far harder if they are to steer clear of danger. Manchester United continued their resurgence under Michael Carrick, securing a narrow 1-0 victory over Everton at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. The decisive moment came courtesy of substitute Benjamin Sesko. The contest had largely lacked clear-cut opportunities and remained cagey for over an hour before the breakthrough arrived in the 71st minute. A swift counter-attack saw Matheus Cunha release Bryan Mbeumo down the flank with a perfectly weighted pass. The ball was then cut back for Sesko, who produced a composed first-time finish to continue his run of crucial goals for the Slovenian striker. It marked United's 5th win in their last 6 matches, strengthening their position in the race for a top-4 finish. Beyond the goal, goalkeeper Andre Onana impressed with several key saves and commanding aerial presence, notably denying Dwight McNeil late on. However, United still looked short of creativity in the absence of Lisandro Martinez and Patrick Dorgu, forcing Bruno Fernandes to drop deep repeatedly to orchestrate play without sufficient support ahead of him. After the match, Carrick praised his side's fighting spirit, describing it as a hard-earned victory of great significance. Everton, meanwhile, remain inconsistent despite applying late pressure. Turning to the remaining fixtures, not headline clashes perhaps, but matches that significantly shaped the wider Premier League landscape. Aston Villa dropped points at Villa Park but salvaged a 1-1 draw against Leeds United thanks to a late intervention from Tammy Abraham in front of 43,048 supporters. Leeds took the lead in the 31st minute through a remarkable 30-yard free kick from Pascal Struijk. Shaping as if to deliver to the far post, he instead curled the ball directly into the top corner, catching Emiliano Martinez off guard. Villa responded with sustained pressure. Ilan Meslier produced a fine save to deny Amadou Onana from close range before tipping Emiliano Buendia's effort onto the post. With frustration building among the home crowd, Unai Emery introduced fresh legs, and the change paid dividends in the 88th minute. From a corner, Ezri Konsa headed the ball across goal, and Abraham bundled it home with his knee, his first Premier League goal for Villa since rejoining in an £18.2 million move. Villa remained third, while Leeds earned a valuable point in their fight against relegation. Brighton ended a 6-match winless run in the league with a 2-0 victory at the GTEC Community Stadium, easing pressure on manager Fabian Hürzeler. They took the lead in the 30th minute when Ferdi Kadiolu struck the crossbar from distance, and Diego Gomez reacted quickest to convert the rebound. On the stroke of half-time, Brighton doubled their advantage in fortunate fashion. Nathan Collins misjudged a clearance from Jack Hinchelwood's cross, inadvertently teeing up Danny Welbeck for a simple finish. Brentford created opportunities but lacked cutting edge. Igor Thiago fired over, while Jon Wissa dragged an effort wide. The Bees pushed after the break, though Brighton's defence held firm, surviving a near-own goal and relying on Bart Verbruggen for a crucial save. A notable milestone saw James Milner make his 654th Premier League appearance, breaking Gareth Barry's long-standing record before departing to a standing ovation due to injury. Brighton moved clear of danger, while Brentford miss an opportunity to push into the top 6 conversation. West Ham squandered the chance to apply pressure on the teams above after being held to a goalless draw by Bournemouth at the London Stadium in front of 62,407 spectators on a rain-soaked evening. The Hammers registered 20 shots, their highest tally of the season, yet only 3 were on target, with most efforts stemming from set pieces. Callum Wilson made an immediate impact off the bench but was denied at the near post by George Petrovic. Jared Bowen had a stoppage time opportunity following a precise delivery from Lucas Paquetá but blazed over. Bournemouth remained compact and patient, with 19-year-old Ryan Christie catching the eye with a surging run from midfield that ended with a curling effort off the post. The evening also featured a tribute tifo honouring club legend Łukasz Fabianski. Positively for West Ham, goalkeeper Alphonse Areola recorded his second clean sheet in 3 matches, narrowing the gap to just 2 points. Crystal Palace secured a much-needed 1-0 victory over Wolverhampton Wanderers at Selhurst Park, courtesy of a 90th-minute winner from Eberechi Eze, ending their winless home run stretching back to November. The match was tense and lacking in quality. Wolves arguably created the clearer chances in the first half, including a penalty in the 41st minute. However, Mateus Cunha's weak spot kick was comfortably saved by Dean Henderson, extending his penalty struggles. The turning point came in the 61st minute when centre-back Max Kilman received a second yellow card in quick succession, reducing Wolves to 10 men. Palace dominated possession thereafter but struggled to break through until Tyrick Mitchell delivered a low cross for Jean-Philippe Mateta to convert from close range. Off the pitch, tension was evident in the stands with banners criticising the board and manager Oliver Glasner, who has announced he will depart in the summer. The victory offered relief but left lingering questions. Fulham halted a 3-match losing streak with a 3-1 win at the Stadium of Light, securing their first league victory there since 2003. Raul Jimenez opened the scoring in the 54th minute with a header from an Alex Iwobi corner before doubling the lead from the penalty spot 7 minutes later after VAR judged Dan Ballard to have fouled Carlos Vinicius. Sunderland pulled one back in the 76th minute via a penalty converted by Enzo Lafay after Jobe Bellingham was brought down. However, Fulham sealed the result in the 85th minute through a swift counter-attack. Harry Wilson broke clear and squared for Iwobi, who lofted the ball over the goalkeeper for his first goal since December. Sunderland suffered 2 first-half injury setbacks but welcomed back captain Dan Neil after a 4-match absence. Fulham climbed to 10th, pushing Sunderland down to 12th. Matchday 27 concludes with compelling developments across the title race, the top 4 battle and the relegation scrap. Arsenal remained top with 61 points from 28 matches, though their week was a rollercoaster. A disappointing 2-2 draw against Wolverhampton Wanderers was swiftly followed by a resounding 4-1 victory over Tottenham in the North London derby. Manchester City sit on 56 points from 27 games and continue their relentless pursuit. The 2-1 win over Newcastle, powered by Nico O'Reilly's brace, once again demonstrated Guardiola's side's knack for efficiency over extravagance during decisive periods of the season. The race for the top 4 remains finely poised. Aston Villa hold third place on 51 points but their draw against Leeds has tightened the gap. Manchester United apply the strongest pressure, moving to 48 points after their hard-fought win over Everton, just 1 victory shy of Villa. Chelsea, however, faltered again, despite taking the lead. Wesley Fofana's red card and missed opportunities saw them held to a draw. They remain 5th on 45 points. And if they are to mount a serious top 4 challenge, consistency will be essential. Just behind them, Liverpool continue to apply pressure after grinding out a pragmatic victory at the City ground, maintaining contact with the leading pack. In mid-table, Brentford slipped to defeat, while Bournemouth had to battle hard for a point away at West Ham. Everton, Newcastle and Sunderland all failed to secure positive results, leaving that cluster of teams unable to create any meaningful breathing space. Tottenham were arguably the biggest disappointment of the round. A heavy defeat in the North London derby leaves Spurs on just 29 points from 27 matches, only 4 points clear of the relegation zone. On current form, they could easily be dragged into a survival battle if performances do not improve swiftly. In summary, Matchday 27 has made the Premier League landscape more unpredictable than ever. The title race has reignited. The The top four battle grows increasingly congested, and the relegation fight remains wide open. The run-in promises to be fiercely competitive. The race for the Premier League Golden Boot is also beginning to show clearer separation compared to last week. The standout name remains Erling Haaland. The Manchester City striker is once again accelerating at the crucial stage of the season, taking his tally to 22 goals and 7 assists in 27 matches. Beyond pure goalscoring, Haaland has evolved into a more complete focal point in attack, increasingly involved in link-up play and chance creation, a development that has widened the gap between him and the chasing pack. In second place, Igor Thiago remains on 17 goals, now 5 behind Haaland, a margin significant enough to create a psychological edge heading into the decisive stretch. Behind them, the race remains fluid. Julian Alvarez of Manchester City, João Pedro at Chelsea and Hugo Ekitike for Liverpool hover between 10 and 13 goals. Yet none have produced the sustained surge required to truly threaten the summit. However, the most intriguing development this week comes from a new contender entering the conversation. Viktor Gyökeres, Arsenal's Swedish striker, delivered a standout performance with a brace against Tottenham, bringing his total to 10 league goals. What makes Gyökeres' rise notable is not merely the numbers but his form since the start of 2026. He has found rhythm and consistency, finally embodying the archetypal centre-forward Arsenal had been seeking, from being questioned during the first half of the season to becoming one of the league's most watchable strikers. His progression has been rapid and emphatic. Broadly speaking, this season's Golden Boot race now appears divided into two tiers. On one side stands Haaland, holding a commanding advantage in both output and efficiency. On the other sits a tightly packed chasing group, separated by only a handful of goals, meaning momentum could shift dramatically within a single round. If Haaland maintains his current form, the race may soon be settled, but should a player like Igor Thiago catch fire in the closing weeks, we could yet witness a far more dramatic pursuit than the table currently suggests. Matchday 27 was defined by decisive moments, and the team of the week reflects that perfectly. In goal, Dean Henderson earns the nod after producing a string of vital saves for Crystal Palace, most notably his penalty stop that paved the way for their late victory over Wolves. The defense is structured according to natural roles. Piero Hincapié occupies the left flank, combining aggressive dueling with composure in build-up phases. The centre-back pairing consists of Calvin Bassey and Gabriel Magalhaes, both dominant in aerial battles and instrumental in Fulham's and Arsenal's respective wins. On the right, Dominik Szoboszlai is deployed in an advanced fullback role, utilizing his relentless work rate and pressing intensity to support transitional play. Midfield provided some of the round's defining contributions. Nico O'Reilly once again demonstrated composure and maturity in Manchester City's hard-fought win. Alex Iwobi both assisted and scored to drive Fulham's victory at Sunderland. Meanwhile, Eberechi Eze was arguably the artist of the weekend, netting a brace against Tottenham and dragging Arsenal firmly back into the title race with a display full of confidence and invention. Up front, three match winners lead the line. Nico O'Reilly, operating in an advanced role, emerged as a breakout star with his brace against Newcastle. Viktor Gyökeres embodied the centre-forward Arsenal have long desired, scoring twice in the North London derby, and Raúl Jiménez delivered experience and class with a brace that ended Fulham's difficult run. Matchday 27 now gives way to Matchday 28, as the Premier League officially enters the final third of the season. This is the decisive run-in, where ambitions are either realised or shattered. From the title race to the battle for Champions League places and the fight for survival, every mistake now carries severe consequences. And from this point onward, the defining stories of the season will begin to take shape.